Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel. And as you can see on the screen in front of you right now, we have a very timely, very seasonally appropriate figure to share with you all, because we're taking a closer look today in this installment at the Sgt Santa Green Camo Edition from Fresh Monkey Fiction's Naughty or Nice collection. So stick around, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know about this figure. So if you've been thinking about picking one up for yourself, and you know, you've got a good 10 months to make a decision on that, then you'll have all the info that you need to know to understand whether this is right for your cash or not. I'll take a quick look at the packaging and then give you a rundown of the aesthetic qualities, the visual experience with the figure, then walk you through the articulation and posability, and then do a rundown of all the accessories and added value that is included. So it'll be a good thorough review, and by the end of it all, you'll know whether this is worth your hard-earned cash or not. So let's get into it, and let's jump back in time to past Chris, a couple of days ago when this arrived on my doorstep, where I share my first instinctual reaction to the packaging. Here we go. All right then, folks. Well, here is the Sgt Santa Bracket Green Camo version in packaging. Arrived on my doorstep a bit earlier on today. Quick packaging rundown for the mint in box collectors here. So you can see it's the Naughty or Nice, Christmassy themed motif in the artwork there. Naughty or Nice big logo on the front. Massive window packaging showing off the figure and all the goodies. And then up at the top here, just gathering a logo is basically Fresh Monkey Fiction and the Arlen Pelletier Studios, the sculptor. Then on the back there, you've got the kind of cross-promo stuff with the other Santas that were available in this particular wave. That's the main one there that I've got. That's the other Santa that I own in my collection. A little bit of blurb and stuff. You can read that as you go along, links and stuff. It's standard, you know. It's not wildly exciting, to be honest. More Santas on the side there. And even more Santas on the other side as well, except for the cheeky red-coloured Krampus tucked away at the back. And that's it. That's what you get. So not too bad if you're mint in box, but I'm not mint in box. I'm going to go and crack this bad boy open, get good and hands-on with some man-child playtime, and now return with some review thoughts and some show and tell on the figure itself imminently. So stick around, because Future Chris is going to come back and talk to you about the man-child playtime I've been having with this bad boy. So let's get into the visual experience then. Let's talk about the aesthetic qualities of the figure. And here you can see with a kind of head-to-toe view that it is a Father Christmas decked out in camo gear, smoking a cigar with big aviator shades on him, you know, and it's just wacky. It's just wacky. It's out there. Now, this is the only other non-classic Santa that I picked up from this Naughty or Nice line. I've got the classic Santa and this one here. Obviously, I'm a military line collector. I've a big focus of my collecting at the moment is G.I. Joe Classified, so I've gone with this guy because I think he'd make for a nice kind of decorative piece through the festive season, and will definitely be getting popped on the shelf with some of my G.I. Joes come next December for sure. This coming December, I should say. But, you know, they've got loads of crazy, wacky ones with all sorts of different designs. There's zombie Santas and bad Santas and pirate Santas and pirate zombie Santas and demonic Santas, or was it a gremlin Santa or something? Gremlin troll or something. I can't remember. I've not looked at them too closely. A wizardy one, you know, all sorts of different Santas to suit your tastes and needs. But this is the classic Santa repainted with a different head sculpt. That's the bottom line of it. However, at a glance, you can definitely tell that this is a kind of derivative Father Christmas for a bit of fun for sure. Bringing him a bit nearer to the camera then so we can conduct a closer inspection of the finer detail. We can see that all the key identifying features that tell you this is a Santa, this is a Father Christmas are there. You know, he's got the white beard, he's got the floppy Santa hat, he's got the big furry coat, the belly on him, you know, the big fat belt, the Santa-style boots. It's all present and correct, but obviously been painted in the camo design to make him more military. The camo paint app is good, it's solid, you know, it looks like camo. It's hard to know what to say. I mean, it's just a good paint application, and it looks like what it's supposed to look like. It's consistent throughout the rest of the gear as well. You know, the hat matches up with the big coat and the trousers. There's not too much distinction between the different shadings and stuff, so it's consistent throughout, which is nice. And then you've got this lovely sculpted detail with all the kind of furry trimmings there. You can see on the edges of the coat and around the cuffs of his jacket there, and around the rim, and of course his little floppy furry ball bit there. It looks really good. It's got a bit of a wash on it to bring it to life. It's great to see. The Santa hat's removable. I'll just pop that off so we can take a better look at the head sculpt. But this is kind of one of the key areas where they've separated it from the other kind of core classic Santas and done a bit more with it to lean into this kind of Sgt Santa Camo Edition military style Father Christmas that they're going for. So he's chomping on this big cigar. It's well sculpted. He's got this lovely paint application on the end to show you the burning embers on his cigar. The beard isn't quite as bushy and big and sticky outy as the beard on the classic Santa, but it's still as well sculpted, and it's got all the nice kind of wash details in there. And this one's got a bit more hair. He's not bald look. He's got this this kind of slip back, military gaffer kind of look to it, which is nice. Everything else is good in there. We've got some nice facial features. You can see some of the kind of aging, the more mature character that they're going for with Father Christmas, with some of the wrinkles and stuff, which is nice. So good facial features. And even though he's wearing the sunglasses here, which are individually painted as well, although the lenses are a bit flat, they could have been a bit shinier, a bit more aviatorish, reflective aviator to my mind. But just to draw attention to it, you can see that they've taken the time to paint the little peak sticky outy bits of eyebrow that are coming out over the top. So even though the shades look a bit bland to me, and I think we should have had better lenses, the overall facial sculpt, the head experience is super fun, and the cigar really working it. Look at the way they've kind of sculpted him chomping down on his cigar there, his big Cuban, and the burning ember effect on the end looks really great. There's good texture effects throughout as well. You can see the kind of leathery look of his big belt, the metallic look of the buckle, and the little kind of cap piece on the end of his belt. Nice leathery look to the boots too, along with the individually painted buckles on the front of the boots there, which all add to the experience. I love that attention to detail. And all of my limited experience with Fresh Monkey Fiction I've seen this these little touches, this attention to detail. So even the little what are these holes called on the belt, for tightening your belt up there, even the little metal section, little brass bit around the edges of the holes are painted in, and you can see they're painted in on the boots as well, the straps with the buckle holes in there, individual painted bits, which is nice. It gives it nice depth, nice texture, and shows a bit of care and attention put into the figure. There's some nice textural details in there as well, so you can see some kind of bunching up here at the end of the sleeves and at the top of the boots, and the way they contour around his big portly belly with a bowl full of jelly, which is nice. And that's about it, really, in terms of sort of visual experience. Not a great deal else to say. It's a Father Christmas in a camo paint job, but it's a lovely piece of work, and the visual experience has been very positive, so I'm going to give it a thumbs up on that front for sure. It's a Father Christmas, it's a Santa, but it's a novelty Santa, and so it's ticking all the boxes in that respect, and the quality of the sculpt with it's not super elaborate, it's not particularly intricate, but where there has been an opportunity to put some depth into it, they have done, and I'm grateful for that. So yeah, a lot of fun indeed. Definitely a thumbs up in terms of the aesthetic. I think he's going to make for a great ornamental piece through the festive season, no doubt. Okay, so there's the aesthetic, a closer look at the figure in terms of the aesthetic. Let's now take a look at the articulation and posability. So a quick note, folks, as always, if you've had one of these Santas in hand before, you're familiar with the articulation scheme, it's no different to the classic Santa I own. By all means, feel free to avail yourself of the timestamps below. I'll put chapters in, and you can jump ahead, take a look at the section that reviews the accessories and added value. But if this is the first time you've seen one of these Santas, or you're just interested to know whether there's any quirks, then stick around and I'll walk you through it. And I'm going to start with the head here. So it's a ball just in the base of the skull and a static neck. So you're down and ups or or right like that. You can see you got good turning to the left and right. It can do full 360 X assist, but because of the way his beard contours, it's a it's a bit of a funny turn, but it's possible to do. But you can definitely get him looking off into the distance, planning some strategy to get into combat. Moving down into the shoulder, it's a peg and a hinge there. So you can go all the way around at the shoulder 360 like so. The hinge, though, doesn't really give you a great deal of movement up. That's about the limit of it there. So that's your movement. And no butterfly joint, which is a shame, and I'll talk about why in a minute. It's a pegged-in single elbow. You can get up to about there, and then it swivels in and out like so. Then pegged-in hands that you can spin around at the wrist point. These are the two hands that were on the figure when he came out the packet. These have got hinges forward and back like that, you can see. However, there's a wide variety of hand swaps, and some of them have got up and down hinges, some of them have got in and out hinges. The hands, the pegs aren't fantastic. You can maybe just about see it there. It's a bit hard. Maybe if I put a bit more light on it. The peg channel in there is shallower than the length of the peg. So these hands can you see just that little bit of peg sticking out there? It's not too bad from most angles because it's obscured by this cuff piece, but is a little bit frustrating for sure. Then moving into the torso, it's a ball at this waist point here, which gives you a little bit of ab crunch and some swivel and, that kind of ball joint movement in the middle there. Hinged in the groin and the hips there, so you've got forward, back, Russian ballet splits, which is fine. Thigh cut there at the top of the thigh. Single pegged in knee with a hinge on the leg, so you can get up to about there, and then you can swivel them back and forth, just like you can do at the elbows. No boot cut. And then you've got the classic hinge and rocker in the ankles there. So sadly, the articulation is limited. Compared to the standard we're becoming increasingly used to nowadays, sort of contemporary figures like your G.I. Joe Classified, your Valaverse, the stuff that you might want to pose this guy up with. He's not got the range of motion that they have. In fact, I'd say it's almost old-fashioned. It's a bit getting to the point of archaic almost, which is a shame, and it affects your ability to pose him up quite as dynamically, quite as excitingly as you might have liked. I mentioned before, the absence of the butterfly joint and the single elbows, the butterfly joint in particular I called out as a bit of an issue. You don't notice it so much with the classic Santa, but with this guy who, as you'll see when I get to the accessories, has got a couple of guns. He's got a shotgun. He says grabbing it out of the little tin, he's got it in there. He's got a shotgun and a rocket launcher and stuff. They make it very hard to pose him utilising the weaponry that they've given him to kind of complete that Sgt Santa, the camo military style look of him, which is a shame. However, they are, I think, more ornamental pieces, so you would have to reconcile that for yourself and decide how much mileage you would get out of it. I'm planning on just finding a bit of a fun Christmassy pose, get him out in amongst the middle of my G.I. Joe display for Christmas as a festive ornamental piece, and that's the end of that. I'm not looking to use him much as a photography piece or a dynamic diorama type piece. However, if that is what you want, if you want to do some crazy Father Christmas kind of dios and take some pictures of them, then this you might find it restrictive. You might find the articulation a little bit limiting. So sadly, as much as it pains me to do it, I think I'm going to have to give the articulation a bit of a thumbs down. So there you go. Okay, there's the articulation and posability. Now let's get into the wealth of accessories that are included with this and talk about the added value. And I'll get us started with this helmet swap, this little hat swap here, this kind of general pattern style M1 World War II style military helmet thing, which obviously really helps finish off that kind of visual experience of this is the Sgt Santa version, the military style version. That's the novelty niche of this particular figure. It's nice, it's well sculpted, got the contours in with the little rim. Again, the camo paint job matches up well with the rest of the uniform. It's not, it's not too different. It's this nice molded kind of rubbery plastic that sits on the top. And what I will say as well, actually, is that this helmet seems to have a better fit on the head than the Santa hat. The Santa hat just feels like it sits a bit loose. If you can, hang on, let me put my hand around the back there. It sits a bit loose on him compared to the military style helmet. This is, of course, because the Santa hat is reuse of the sculpt that they've used on the other Father Christmases that are bold, with the big bold head. So the contours, I've dropped it down the back there, but the contours in it are designed for the big round bold head, you know. Speaking of the big bold head, though, there is a head swap in the figure, and you can see here it is. It's the more classic looking, bigger, bushier beard, bold headed Father Christmas, but they've maintained a Sgt Santa twist on it by, you know, camo painting his face. He's got the camo paint out and he's got himself ready to go on, you know, some night maneuvers, which is kind of fun to see. He's even darkened up his beard a little bit. You can see the wash in there to darken it up. A very angry kind of looking, you know, face there. The eyes really pop. The paint applications on the eyes. I don't believe my camera and lighting are doing it justice, but they really stand out. But he's got that kind of furrowed brow, and you can see the eyebrows angled in there. Nice facial features. I'm not super familiar with the line. I've not examined it in depth, but I don't think we've seen this head across the line anywhere else. But you know, I don't know for sure. Don't quote me on that. Certainly the classic Santa that I've got is a nice, smiley, warm, cuddly Santa. And you can see here that the Santa hat is a much better fit on this head sculpt here. So if you want to go all in, you can already see how well he's blending in with my black background here. And I've had to up the lights to make him stand out. But you can already see how he's ready for action, loaded for bear. Speaking of being loaded for bear, that's twice I've used that type of segue now. But what toy soldier, you know, regardless of being Santa or not, is complete without a weapons loadout. And here's the weapons loadout that comes with this one. So he's got his little pump action shotgun here. Nice single piece of molded plastic in the black there. Got all the kind of key details that you'd identify with this sort of pump action shotgun piece of gear. Well sculpted, good quality. It's got a little bit of bend and flex in it there, so it's not too brittle, but certainly not like we've experienced with G.I. Joe Classified of late, where you know, you can bend it all the way around your finger like a ring. So that's good. Then he's got his rocket launcher. Or is this a bazooka rocket launcher? No, that's a rocket launcher, isn't it? Because he's got the rocket on the outside here. Or missile launcher? I don't know. Some of you munitions folks out there, get me up to speed on the right lingo on that. But this is a green piece of molded plastic, with all the kind of key sculpted in details that you'd expect, with this kind of candy cane paint app on the end there on the rocket, which is a nice little festive Santa touch. And then we've got these couple of hand grenades here to come in the set. These are repainted baubles, I believe, from one of the other Father Christmas Naughty or Nice Santa figures. So it's a bauble, technically speaking, but in the context of this figure, they're decked out to be camouflage painted hand grenades. Then we have a couple of more kind of traditional Christmassy themed items, with the gift and the stocking included there. Again, we've seen these across the line with other Santa figures and in the little accessory pack, but these are nice. You know, the stocking has got a nice stocking shape to it with some contour and texture detail, got the fluffy top, the little loop for hanging it on the fireplace there, and then the gift has got the lid on it in the little gift box there with a bow on the top and your ribbon tied around it, although the ribbon doesn't go along the bottom section. Presumably to make it sit better flat, but these are obviously more kind of festively tuned in, as it were. But of course, they've maintained the camo paint job, just overwhelmed with this camo pattern in this set for sure. Then we've got a wide selection of hand swaps. Most of these again come as standard with a number of the other Naughty or Nice Santas in the line. So the grippy hand, the pointy finger there, your little carry hand, your closed fist. These, I have another set of these skin-coloured ones from my classic Santa. And then we've got the black gloved one, specifically with a trigger finger on it, so that you can have him carrying his weaponry loadout. But these are all great. You know, it's always useful to open up and expand the opportunity, the possibilities through hand swaps as to what you can do. So if you want him throwing the grenade, get it in an open palm hand here, or if you want him carrying the present or the stocking or something, you can do so. If you want him yo-joing, you can do with the closed fists. If you want him pointing I've got a photo of my classic Santa pointing at some cookies on a plate, offering them up to the Dreadnoks, for example. So, it just opens up your possibilities a little bit more. The main thing, though, is that because we've only got one black gloved hand swap, if you change out the right hand to a skin colour one, you've kind of got to then swap it out on the left hand as well, which is not problematic. It's not an issue at all. In theory, you could have him one gloved hand and one not. It's not unreasonable to think that he's taken his glove off and popped it in his pocket so that he can get a better purchase on his hand grenade before he throws it. But nonetheless, great added value. Hand swaps and head swaps are always great. I love to see them. And then I've just killed the lighting a little bit to show you the foot stand. It's, this white plastic was extremely bright and reflective under the lighting. But this comes as standard with all the Naughty or Nice collection figures. You can see the Naughty or Nice logo stamped into it there, imprinted into it. A couple of foot pegs that match up with the peg holes in the bottom of his feet. A little contoured edge there to give it a bit of character. That's fine. If you like foot stands, then you got a foot stand. And it's always good to have a foot stand with your figures. Although, as you can see, he's a pretty solid independent stander in his own right anyway. But it's, I suppose as part of that kind of using him as an ornamental piece, this is a nice touch. So the accessory selection's good, it's loads of stuff. He does come at a higher price tag, and I suppose they've got to justify that higher price tag somehow, because they're certainly not putting the money into the articulation, are they? But accessories like hand swaps and head swaps that open up the range of possibilities, give you a bit of variety, let you get some good quality man-child playtime in with your figure is always going to be a good thing. The only criticism I have really is that this particular figure with the weapons loadout, it's hard to do good, dynamic, interesting stuff with some of the accessories because the articulation is so limited, so they've kind of given with one hand and taken away with the other. So I'm giving it a thumbs up because I think it all adds value and it's all a good part of the experience. But when married up to the articulation experience, you start to come up against some problems. But, look, I've got him, calling his shot with his hand grenade there. That's fun. That's daft. That's silly. And definitely not the kind of pose you'd expect to see your Father Christmas in, is it? So there you go. All right, let's have a quick look at him next to a couple of other figs, shall we? Okay, folks, well, to get us started, I've mentioned it a couple of times in this video. Here's the classic Santa from the Naughty on Ice line next to the Sgt Santa there, the green Camo Edition. You can see that they are, to all intents and purposes, mostly the same figure, although now that I've got them next to each other, there are a couple of key differences. The belly on the classic Santa seems a bit more portly by comparison, whereas Camo Santa seems to be a little bit more ripped across the front there, which is interesting because the coat is the same sculpt, it appears. So that's curious. And then I noticed the hand pegs. When I was setting this one up to pose him on screen here, the hand pegs are smaller on the classic Santa. So they've changed something about the pegs on the hands, which might explain why I'm having trouble getting these fitting in so well. But otherwise, you can see that the core difference between the two is in the head sculpt, of course. And the paint job, obviously. Here he is next to Leatherneck from the latest G.I. Joe Classified series wave. Leatherneck's hanging around because I've recently reviewed him. But that's a good fit there in terms of kind of classic soldier. Apologies, folks. I got called out for this in the comments on Leatherneck's review. A Marine there next to the Sgt Santa. Good fit, I think, them pair. Looks nice. Here's Sgt Santa with a Punisher. I thought that was a good fit as well, again, for that kind of ornamental, festive embellishment for your displays there. This could be a good fit in amongst, I don't know, your folks like the Punisher or your S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, that type of thing. And finally, here he is next to a Christmas tree. So here's Sgt Santa going around on the turntables. You can get a 360 look at the figure, folks, and while you're having a peek at that, I'll offer up some final thoughts. And overall, it's about what you want. If you want a novelty Father Christmas to operate in I've used the phrase ornamental capacity for some fun Christmas embellishments to add to your action figure display through December, and you're not so bothered by a bit of limited articulation, then this is the figure for you, for sure. And it's certainly the figure for me in that respect. But if you're looking for something more dynamic, more engaging as an action figure experience, then you might find the articulation limits a little bit frustrating. But I'm happy with it. The novelty element that I was looking for has been delivered, has been exactly delivered as I expected, anticipated, and wanted. And I'm very much looking forward to playing around with it come December. Although that is a bit of a thing with this figure. that oftentimes when I get a new figure, you know, I'll go through a couple of days man-child playtime, get hands-on, gather some review thoughts I'll jot down to share in the video, which I've obviously done today. But then they hang around for ages. I've got this little sort of new figure display bit that sits behind my desk, and then I've got space on my desk, and I play with them until I bore of them or something new comes along, or I mix it in onto one of the more kind of static displays at the top there. But I feel really weird doing that with this guy. Like, I don't want to put him on my new figure display behind me because, you know, it's a Christmas figure. So that's a bit weird. One final thought, folks, and yes, there was an interruption. There was a cut in there. I've interrupted the 360 view because I decided to throw this in at the end. It's a bit frustrating that this has arrived in January, I suppose, further to what I was saying about displaying him upon receipt of the figure. I made my pre-order in December time 2023. In fact, I'll flash up a little screen cap of my pre-order date on Big Bad Toy Store. So it's a little frustrating that it's been a year, well, 13 months roughly before I've received the figure, and then come in time for the upcoming Christmas season or the subsequent Christmas season. I saw the dude from Fresh Monkey Fiction out and about on social media because a few folks have said, "Why is this not coming before Christmas?" He said, "Well, the Christmas shopping thing is real, folks, and you know, we want to keep the pre-orders open over Christmas to acquire some more custom." And I get that. You know, I'm not begrudging them being a business and, you know, their marketing strategy. These are Christmas figures. They sell well over Christmas. But I think they need to understand how that looks for someone who was part of their last Christmas marketing strategy, who, you know, they'd already captured in that kind of Christmas shopping frenzy. A year ahead of that. So that was a bad look for me. And while, you know, they're a business and they've got to make money, and I don't begrudge them it. And, you know, I've got it in hand now in time for Christmas 2025. Well in time for Christmas 2025. That's like those, you know, like your cell phone contracts that are more... I equated it to like the, you know, cell phone contracts that are more attractive for new customers, and then they just kind of screw over the old customers with really shitty tariffs and stuff. And it kind of felt a bit like that. Like, you know, I'm already paid you my money, so deliver the service. Your focus on new customer acquisition shouldn't be at the, you know, to the detriment of the paying customer who's already with you. And I'm, you know, becoming increasingly loyal to Fresh Monkey Fiction. I've had a good experience with these Naughty and Nice. I love the novelty factor on them, and I've had a good experience with my Operation Monster Force. I'm expecting further good things from them this year with the Soldiers of Fortune and the Order of the Crimson Moon. So, you know, I don't know if anyone in Fresh Monkey Fiction is watching. It's a bit of a kind of negative finish there because I've really enjoyed this figure, guys. But yeah, that I felt that a little bit. And, you know, you should make your money, but come on, you already had my money. It was in the bank, bought and paid for up front. You know, I did a full upfront payment on it. So, yeah. Anyway, there you go. So I hope you found this useful, folks. If anyone's thinking about picking up one of these for themselves for next Christmas, then that's giving you a thorough enough view to make a decision as to whether this is the figure for you. If you found it useful, do all the YouTube stuff, you know, thumbs up, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. But all that remains to say, and I've timed this wrong with the turntable, but all that remains to say is thanks very much for watching. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here with me. I'm blessed to have you as a viewer, and I hope to see you around these parts again sometime soon. Have a great day. All right, bye-bye now, and Merry Christmas.